10 days of fighting, the Israeli general, Igal Allon, estimated that 20% of the effective Arab fighting force had been lost, and the War of Independence won, though not ended. In the remaining months of the war, there were more Israeli offensives, more Palestinians were forced out, and there were more ceasefires. Of the invaders, only the Arab Legion in Jerusalem and the West Bank could claim any success. The others were humiliated.
When the Second War came, it was not in favor of the Arabs. It was totally in favor of the Jews, because there the Jews were able to make victory in Naqab, in the south, and against the Syrians and Lebanese. We were left alone in the West Bank, defending ourselves.
By the time Israel seized the last corner of the Negev desert in March 1949, armistice talks had already started. Yad Mordechai was recaptured and became a symbol of Israeli resistance. From November 1947 to January 1949, around 6,000 Israelis, 1% of the population, had been killed.
What do you think would have happened if you hadn't won?
Well, the Arabs really gave the answer to that question, Jeremy. When someone said to them, but what happened to the Jews once you overrun them? He says, there won't be any Jews. They will have been drowned in the sea. And I have no doubt that it really would have been a Holocaust.
One estimate is that around 15,000 Arab soldiers and civilians were killed. Defeat made the Arab world even more unstable.
There was no balance between the forces of Israel and the forces of the Arabs. Because in wars you don't only depend on the number of soldiers or the number of tanks. You have also to have political force, and you have to have a unity among those who are going to war. Unity did not exist among the Arab states.
Since 1948, the Israelis have built a modern state, the region's superpower, a homeland for the Jews. Palestinians believe it's all come on the back of their loss, and that troubles some Israelis too.
I have no doubt that the Arabs' deportation also helped the State of Israel. The truth should be said. It helped us because hundreds of thousands fled and new immigrants settled into their villages and towns. It's difficult to say, but this did happen. We didn't ask for it, but it happened nonetheless. On the other hand, the situation of an ongoing war, day after day, for 60 years, big wars with names, small wars with no names, the 1948 war is yet to end.
For all Israel's strength, its civilians still get killed by Palestinians. And with their civilians dying too, Palestinians believe that what they call the Nakba, the catastrophe of 1948, has never ended. The current peace process, sponsored by President Bush, will fail like all the others if it cannot solve problems that are hardwired to 1948. Partition is still on the agenda. They need to fix a border between Israel and a Palestinian state. Jerusalem is still claimed by both sides. And Palestinian refugees await a future.
Until 1948, that was a bare hill on the edge of Bethlehem. Now it's Dheisheh refugee camp. The original tents were replaced by permanent structures a long time ago, but there's no sense of permanence in the minds of the people who live there, because for 60 years they have effectively been in limbo. The future of the Palestinian refugees is still one of the Middle East's great unsolved, politically toxic issues.
When the Palestinian camps were new, 60 years ago, Israel was absorbing hundreds of thousands of Jewish refugees and migrants. Now almost all Israelis believe a mass influx of Palestinian refugees would destroy their state. A UN resolution on their return has never been implemented. Some Palestinian refugees, still dreaming of everything they lost, will not hear of compromise.
We said it more than once. Even if they give us heaven, we will not give up on our country. If they give us enough gold to fill this room, we will decline everything. Impossible. I will die and die a heretic. If you take £1 million in gold for an inch of Palestine, you die as a heretic. Not a Muslim, not a Christian, not a Jew, a heretic, and you go to hell.
And even though most Palestinians do accept that they will live alongside Israel, memory and history stand on every street corner.
My father has built here. You know, I feel my father, he was denied to live in, and he was dispossessed to live in this beautiful house. It's been now 60 years for most of the people. There are weaknesses. You want to advance, and I would want very much to compete and advance as much as the Israelis have advanced. But I'm a Palestinian. My land has been robbed by the Israelis.
We want them to have a state of their own, fair, independent, friendly. And they want it too. There is no division in our destinies. Our problem from our side is their division within themselves and their weakness.
Others believe the main problem is that Israel is still expansionist, breaking international law by settling Jews on occupied land that Palestinians say is theirs.
They don't want to give up territory. They want to squeeze the Palestinians. They want to take as much territory as they can and give the Palestinians as little as they can, which would not be conducive to a solution, a self-sustaining Palestinian state.
60 years ago, Arab propagandists boasted they would push the Jews into the Mediterranean. Plenty of Israelis suspect that's still something Palestinians would like to do.
Had they accepted in 1947 their part, half of Palestine, the mandate, we would have two countries since then and no conflict. But what they wanted is the whole country. They wanted to drive us into the sea, to kill the Jews. This is why they don't have anything today.
I will continue to resist in a non-violent resistance until we can coexist, until we can convince the Israelis that we want our freedom, but this does not mean that we want to destroy the state of Israel.
The long war of 1948 has consumed two peoples with two separate stories to tell. They'll have to find a way to live with its legacy if they ever want peace.
One day we shall have to shake hands and sit together. We can't continue fighting forever. We can't continue killing and killing and killing. There must be an end to it.
Next on BBC Two, playing for snooker's greatest prize, Ronnie O'Sullivan leads Annie Carter 6-2 in the World Championship final. And medieval myth-busting on BBC 4, Terry Jones takes issue with the romantic idea of the knight in shining armour.